Okay.
It is approximately 6:32. This time we call to order the city council meeting of December 5th, 2024. Kim, would you like to take roll call?
Councilmember Schroeder.
Here.
Councilmember Wilson.
Here.
Councilmember Hatton.
Here.
Mayor Bishop.
Here. Join me now for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The first item of business is that we adopt the agenda. I make a motion that we adopt the agenda. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? At this time, we have a chance for public comments. Now, this is not,
Mr. Mayor and council members, if we could address the consent agenda prior to public comments.
okay, I'll do that. We have three items on the consent agenda. One is the approved monthly claims. Two is the September 5th, 2024 City Council meeting approval, and the JPA Code Red mass communication. Is there any discussion about this consent agenda? Okay, if there's nothing to discuss at this time, all those that approving the consent agenda, I make that motion that we do. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Now we get to the public comments. This has nothing to do with public comments that are necessarily directed towards, the cannabis ordinance that's coming up later in the agenda, or the conditional use permit that's been applied for. At that time, you can speak to those particular issues when they are on the floor. Is there anybody that would like to make any other public comment at this time? Apparently there is not, so we will then go to 4 unfinished and new business. At this time, 4A is consideration of resolution number 2024-13, fire department benefit increases. There is somebody here from the fire department, obviously. Several people. Do you want them to sign in, Kim?
Yes, please.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. We're here tonight to present to you a benefit level increase. Our current benefit level is at $49.75 per year of service, and we'd like to take it to $5,500 per year of service. We're a little bit late in the year in coming to you because our accounting firm was late with our audit, so we didn't get it back until October. So in our benefit level increase policy, that we presented to the cities about 8 or 9 years ago, it said that we would only use completed audited numbers. So we couldn't run any figures until we got the information back. So our treasurer is not here tonight. He's working full time, and got some notes from him. If we stayed at the current benefit level of $4,975 for the entire year of '24, we would close out 2024 with about 130% funding ratio. Now, our agreement with the cities is to not go below 115. And our objective was to get it down as close to 115 as we could without going below that. So with the increase from 4975 to 5500, it puts us at a projected funding ratio at the end of 2024 of 115.39%, which is right on target. Now, normally our projections are a little bit over because we use very conservative variables in our formulas. So we've been coming out about 10 to 15% higher on the funding ratio than what our projections show. So at being at 120 to 130 right now, I know that we're probably going to end up in 2024 at about 120, which, we're bringing it down. The state recommends 105, but the 5 city councils are still a little bit gun shy on getting it too close to the minimum level, so we're playing it conservative. At that 115% funding ratio, that gives the cities a cushion of 115%, and a deficit presented to the cities would not go into effect until we got down to 90% of full funding. So theoretically, that gives the cities 25% cushion. Now, we've got a little bit over $2 million in the fund, so we're talking about a $500,000 plus surplus that is being left on the table, so to speak, and not being allocated to benefits, which, we're shortchanging a lot of people if they retire or get hurt. So we want to get it as close to that 115 as we can to offer the maximum benefit without putting the cities in a precarious position where they'd have to fund us. That's pretty much what we've got for tonight. All of the support for that increase was in your packet. All of the policies that we use and we go by. And any questions?
Anybody from the council have any?
Kevin, just a quick one. Those numbers are January numbers of 2024, right? What the estimates came off of? The numbers that you were projecting out for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
Okay, so a lot has changed in a positive way in the market between then and now, I guess is what I'm
Yeah.
driving towards, which is what you're talking about.
Yeah.
The 10 to 15% more that you're gonna end up with.
Plus the fact that our audit came back so late. Normally it's back in June.
Yeah,
So on our projections, we're going out 7, 8 months.
yeah,
Came back in October, we're going out 2.
yeah.
So I mean, it's not going to change that much between October and the end of the year.
Yeah.
So we've got a little bit more confidence in it, but
Yeah.
with our conservative projections, we're still going to be over.
I take it that you are not going to speak to us?
I do have a little.
Okay.
You'll come afterwards. So if, I think Mike presented a proposal to you in the form of a resolution for you to approve or not approve the benefit level increase.
Is there any further discussion from the council?
Well, I have one more question. So you want to increase this to 5,500 as a comparison? Do you know what Bayport, what they get for the Relief Association?
Bayport's probably up around closer to $10,000 per year of service. they've got a much stronger community as far as the commercial base. And our main funding comes from our return on investments is our number one supply chain. Number two is the state aid. State aid is based on the tax capacity and population. So we don't have a lot of growth. We don't have a lot of industry. We don't have a lot of commercial down here. We're basically a bedroom community. And we don't see the normal 15 to 20% growth each year that cities like Bayport and Woodbury and Oakdale and Cottage Grove see. So, you know, we're lagging behind. We're probably the lowest in the East Metro as far as benefit level. But, you know, we're growing as the fund allows us to grow. Our objective is to provide a benefit without putting an undue burden on cities. You know, we hit a deficit one year, which, you know, it was a worldwide catastrophe in the market. We recovered out of that in 3 years. So, you know, with a $500,000 cushion, you guys are sitting pretty good.
Are there any other comments? Can I have a motion from someone to
I make a
approve?
motion, we approve the increase for the Relief Association for the fire department
I'll
to
second that.
$5,500
I'll second that.
per year.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Not hearing anybody opposed, we approve this resolution. Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you. With me tonight is Mike Cruz, our secretary, and he put together some, what we call the fun facts, things that you may or may not know about the fire department and our service area. So I'll turn it over to Mike.
Thank you, Kevin. These are just some things, I mean, I like to reach out and touch base with you guys, and let everybody know what's going on, what we're up to. Otherwise, everybody just says, hey, there's a fire truck going by, and nobody has any idea what's going on behind the scenes. So these are just some numbers and some information I put together to engage you guys to. So we have a combined total of all the members on our department, 455 years of combined fire and EMS experience. That's among 27 members. And the time of service on our department ranges between 1 year of service and 47 years of service. The current averages of experience on our department is 16.85 years of experience per member. Calls for service in the last 4 years have been increasing steadily. In 1921, we responded to 459 calls. That's fire and EMS, it's all combined. In 2022, we had a 17% increase to 536 calls for service. 2023, we had another 17% increase in calls to 625. So the calls just keep going up. This year, as of 11/4, when I wrote this down, we'd responded to 456 calls for service, and we still had 2 months to go. So 2023 was the last year that we collected this data. So in 2023, that was the full year, so I had all the dates and everything, the information. So the day of the week we have the most calls throughout the years are Saturdays. The time of the day that we have the most calls for service are 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. The city with the most calls is Afton. Our largest truck is Engine 2. So if you're driving south on the fire station, you look in, it's the very first truck on the north side. So it's kind of like sister trucks. One does fire. We send that one out for fires. And the other one we send out for rescue stuff, like with the ambulance. So that's Engine 1 and Engine 2. Engine 2 is the first one. It's 12 feet high, 11 feet wide, 34 foot 4 inches long. I took them all up to the truck scale. This one's a hefty 44,200 pounds. That includes 750 gallons of water that it carries. And then we try to get it out the door with 5 people on it for a crew, a full crew. And that's probably another 1,200 pounds added to that truck. So there's a lot of weight added to that truck. This is all the information. I sent this out with the calendars when they went out. I don't know if anyone reads them. but I think it's good information to share so you guys know, have an idea of what's going on. I've been doing this for a few years, sending this out, but now I'm reading it to you guys. So next year, I'm gonna have some more information. I don't wanna overwhelm you guys with stuff. I think it's interesting for you guys to know the call percentages and what these trucks are and how many years of service. And on the calendars themselves, if you look at the calendars, I put the years of service underneath everybody's picture so you guys can recognize who's the ones serving your community. That's all I got. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Mike.
Mike.
Thanks,
So, Mike, can I ask you one question? How many of those calls are generally speaking where you send out the smaller, just to go along with the ambulance, okay?
We always send, because we kind of have, the houses out here are a little unique, especially when you get out down the off St. Croix Trail. So some of those, we always send the rescue truck because you never know what you're gonna run into.
Yeah.
Some of these people have steep stairs, steep driveways, so it's unfair to just send an ambulance, or we need extra equipment off the truck. Sometimes we have drills, we have saws, we have stuff for taking doors, and all that stuff is on the truck.
I guess
So-
excuse me, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I guess my question comes down to how many times does the big truck go out?
It goes out every time. Every time we send the ambulance out, we send the big truck with. We try to send that with at least 3 people. And the problem is if we get a call and then we get another call, we have a crew already ready to go. So we may not have other people responding to the station. It's time of day. Sometimes we get 5 people for a call. Sometimes we get just enough to send the ambulance. But just for the most time, we send 2 trucks just in case we get an additional call. We can send a crew. That rescue truck is also set up the same as an ambulance, so we can treat. We just can't transport. So we would call in a mutual aid ambulance if ours is already taken. So there's a lot of planning that goes in for you guys, the community, that you may just say, hey, why do they send that big truck every time? That's why, in case we get another call or we get another medical call, because the majority of the calls we get down here are medical. So everybody's cross-trained on our department between fire and EMS. So if you're even an engineer on that truck, you can treat a patient. We just can't transport with, and then we get mutual aid from Lakeview or
Okay, I
Someone
don't
else.
want to prolong this at all, but my guess where I was going with this was, how many times do you think you actually go to a fire in an average year?
that'd be tough. Maybe 60.
Okay.
And some of those are small car fires.
Sure.
When I did the numbers years ago, it was about 20 to 1. Back then, 15 to 1 the last year I did it, so it's we're ambulance first
Yeah,
generally.
and it varies because, why did we get 2 years in a row 17% increases?
Yeah.
That's huge, and now it seemed to be tapering off a little bit.
Yeah, when I was doing the numbers, Mike, is the same thing. We went up for 3 years and down for 4, and I could never figure out why. And but it's challenging to keep track of all that stuff because they're, like you said, you send 2 truck. Well, when you guys came to my house, when I had my challenge with gravity,
And we needed the manpower.
that's true.
We did.
Had to get me up off the floor, and you all had to give me enough sass too while I was laying there,
We did.
which was a good thing. But no, it's those. Yeah, that increase, you can't track it. It doesn't make sense sometimes because for a while I thought, what was that term we were using? Oh, our population was maturing. That was
Well, we had some construction on the highway that was several calls up on the highway,
right. Yeah,
so that helped add to the call volume. We didn't have that this
and
year.
you have to send a truck up there anyway because you need a blocker.
We need to
don't you?
block, yep. I'd rather,
Yeah,
Just
I'd
for
rather
the
have a
truck.
dump truck to do that, but than a
Thank you, Mike.
$600,000
Appreciate
fire
the
truck. But
information.
thank you.
Yep, thanks, Mike.
Yep. I'd like to come back next year too with some more.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Kevin.
Okay, now we'll go to 4B, it's a public hearing for ordinance 2024-01, adult cannabis regulations. I take it that we would have the public input first, is that correct?
No, I'll just introduce it, Mayor,
Okay.
council members, before you use the draft ordinance. As you recall, the legislature made the adult cannabis legal. All cities followed suit by putting a moratorium in to study the issue and come up with a draft ordinance. That moratorium ends December 31st. before you is a draft ordinance that has two components. It's basically the registration requirements that have to be adopted. And the registration can be done through the city and or the county is willing to do these registrations. The reality is the city's gonna have one if they demonstrate compliance with the adopted ordinances. The second part, the meat of the ordinance is adding the use to the definitions, amending the permitted and conditionally permitted uses in section 1. We're adding the cannabis to your ordinance. The ordinance itself is standard language, would be put right in your code of ordinances. The discussion item, I think, comes from the performance standards. That could be what you guys would need to discuss in terms of determining which performance standards and separation setbacks that you are comfortable with. The ordinance itself is as restrictive as it can be per state law. The state is mandating a lot of this. And they're not gonna have their rules all until spring of 2025. This may have to be revised. And in fact, it probably will be revised. But at this point, the city needs to get something in place. The maximum setbacks that the state will allow is the $1,000 setback from schools and 500 feet from residential treatment facilities. And then the city can add, which is part of your draft ordinance, 500 feet of separation between all cannabis businesses. With that, I would be thinking about that. I don't know if you have any questions. I am not an adult cannabis expert, or ordinance expert. But I would think about that discussion in terms of the setbacks, the buffer zone, and then I would make a motion to open the public hearing.
There's a printed copy of the ordinance.
And on the website.
I take it everybody on the council has had an opportunity to peruse this somewhat convoluted language, and
All ordinances are.
especially ones that are being dictated somewhat from governmental agency that is, not really running on all 8 cylinders or 6, whichever you wish.
Well, the state will be doing the licensing. They
Right.
will be issuing the license. Yep.
So, most of this is, as far as I can figure out, and from what Kim has told me, that most of what we have in front of us is stuff that is, as she's indicated, the most restrictive that the state would allow you to have. And I think the real question for the council comes down to the setback standards that are set forth on page 8. And probably the one that concerns us the most is number 2, sub 2, which is a setback of a minimum of 1,000 feet from a private or public school. The other ones are probably won't make much difference to any of us in this room. So is there any discussion on the council concerning that minimum of 1,000 feet from a private or public school? I would just open up that discussion a little bit in that, Kim, we have this very nice drawing here that talks about the buffer zone, okay, of 500 feet or 1,000 feet, that type of thing. Do they measure the buffer zone from the edge of the school property?
Yeah, their property line, yes.
Right, okay. So what we're talking about is measuring from basically where 4th Street comes down. Okay. Right, I mean, it's not from the physical building itself
No.
necessarily.
No.
Okay. And there's probably going to be at the public, when the public gets a chance to speak, this 1,000 feet probably goes beyond where the green canopy is presently located, okay? In other words, if we stick with the language that's presented in the ordinance, which is the most restrictive, the green canopy business, if they were so fortunate as to get a cannabis license, would not be able to locate it at that particular physical location. And so I think it's something that we need to discuss here today because it obviously has an impact on people's lives and, you know, what they may or may not have thought of when they were making businesses. And none of this has necessarily anything to do with any obligation on our part to necessarily make it convenient for people to establish a cannabis business. I think what we have to we know what we did when they came to us for a conditional use permit for the CBD and hemp business, and we guaranteed them at that time that our approval of that had nothing to do with what was going to come down the line when it came to perhaps the ability to have a cannabis business in that same location. So is there anybody that wishes to discuss this further? Anybody wish to perhaps, go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, council members, I just want to add to that. I think the issue with those setbacks is, do you find it a concern for a retail business like this to be closer than 1,000 feet to a school? I think that's what the real issue is. I think that's a matter of opinion. My opinion is that's not an issue. You're not gonna have the third graders walking down to the store and try and purchase. And there's gonna be so much security mandated by the state for all of these stores. I will also note that there is a liquor store within 1,000 feet of the school. And the state has no regulations regarding liquor stores. So, I just wanted to add that. The planner said that if that isn't a concern, the locality of the school, she would recommend lowering those setbacks. And I think that's where the public hearing comes in, is if residents are concerned about that issue, of it being too close to a school.
Kim, do you know if any other cities have done a 500-foot setback, or is it kinda seems like the 1,000 is a typical one?
Well, that's the max, that's the
Okay.
only thing the state will allow. Oh,
Okay.
yeah, other cities have gone lower, yes,
Okay,
because
I
you
was
can
just
only go
curious.
lower.
Okay,
Yep.
I don't wanna be the first to be reducing it quite a bit.
Is there anybody on the council that would like to?
One thing I wanna get clear is that it's the school property, and that includes the soccer fields. Cause if you look at this map, Fourth Street runs, I know that the school is half in Lakeland Shores and half in Lakeland, and if you look at the line here, it's down where the buildings are. That first little white nub going out there, that's Fourth Street. So it's including the athletic fields and the tennis court across the street is part of that. The buffer starts after that. So,
So you're basically talking about on the north side of the.
On the
tennis-
north side, that
of the-
whole-
Of the tennis courts.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Cause as I was looking at it, I was going, no, it's first, second, third, there's Fourth Street, under the dark blue there, where the cul-de-sac is by the school.
I will also note that if you were to lower those standards, lower the setback, that's not going to increase the potential for another establishment like this. That it's, first off, you can have one, you absolutely could have more, but based on the ordinance, there's not enough.
Not enough space.
There is not, so that would be your one location, and that's granted if they get the license from the state,
Right.
that's not a guarantee. but there wouldn't be another one opening up 500 feet down the road. There's not room in Lakeland Shores.
Tim, do you have anything you want to add to this?
I'm lucky I'm leaving.
You're gonna be a customer.
Oh, you gotta have dreams, don't you? You really do.
Without hearing any further contribution, I think at this time we should open the public hearing. So anybody that would like to speak on this particular ordinance proposal, please step up to the microphone, sign in, and say what's on your mind concerning this particular ordinance.
Hi, I'm Kanan Martin, General Manager at Green Canopy. When we signed up for the CUP a year ago or so, we definitely did agree that this wasn't a guarantee for us to proceed this direction. I just want to say to the council, and I was writing an email about this, but holidays. There's a few options here, considering that the rules kind of state that all the cities can't eliminate the possibility for a cannabis business. It kind of means that we, as a city, have to prepare for one. Being in a bank building, we meet a significant amount of the security requirements to become one. And we are local, and we do care about the community deeply. We've done our due diligence to show that we are willing to work with the neighbors. We built the fence. We improved the facility and the grounds. And this rule will have a large impact on our family, and potentially the community too, because if we are removed from the ability to be that dispensary, then I don't know who will come in, but it opens the door for larger and potential businesses that do not have the same roots or care for the community as a whole. And St. Paul is one example. They have reduced the distance by 500 or to 500. And there's also other things that cities are doing in regards to the distance between dispensaries as well, because they want to preserve the existing low-dose dispensaries and not let them kind of lose out because some big player came in and changed the game on them. And so I just want to reinforce how deeply we are committed to compliance, which of course includes the strict Minnesota rules on products not looking like candy, no advertising in any way, shape, or form that looks like it would be interesting to children. Right? We care very deeply about who comes into our store. We ID every single individual. So I understand there's a lot to weigh with this decision. And I know there's a lot of different voices in the community saying one thing or another. We work our best to educate and to show how deeply ranging cannabis products are. For example, in line with the fact that the liquor store is under 1,000 feet, they carry cannabis products. So I guess I just don't know if it's necessarily fair in a certain sense to eliminate us like that. I would just ask the council to think about, how this could affect us and potentially the future of the city, and think about how we've been so far for the city and who we are as people and a business. I'm always available for questions, and I hope some of you will be able to attend some of our educational events that we're hosting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kenan.
Is there anybody else that would like to speak to this?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. I'm Dennis Lund, 16555 First Street South. Let's see here. Looking at the proposed ordinance, I'm seeing on page 2, section 113.02, that this ordinance lists the city of Grant, and I don't think we're in Grant here tonight.
No, but we actually
we
have,
Definitely put 1,000 feet out of range.
Yeah. I realize it's just a draft ordinance that's
Right,
used
and
for
I-
many
That's
different
already
communities.
been corrected.
it's already
Great.
been corrected.
Of course, I didn't see that on the website. That's, glad you've got that corrected. But that, I think, is an example that other communities have large setbacks, as Mr. Kamen mentioned. St. Paul, I think, has got 300. Other cities can do whatever they choose to. A question on the comment that we could not have another dispensary in the city if we used a 500-foot setback between dispensaries. If we have one where the current Green Canopy is and another one at Shiners, it used to be Shiners, now it's First Builders or something like
First
that.
choice, yep.
First choice. I think that would exceed the 500 feet, so that would allow us to have a second one. So that's a consideration to factor. I'm not sure what the right number is. I'm not concerned about the business selling to minors. There are gonna be compliance checks and other things gonna take care of that. So that shouldn't be a concern. What those customers choose to do with that product, the business can't control, so we can't really speak to that much, but, I'm not objecting to a 1,000-foot setback. Anything less than that, we have to ask. We're physically a very small community, and what makes sense. What Lakeland chooses to do with respect to a liquor store, we can't have a lot of impact on. The setback distances from what Lakeland does in their territory, property, city to the school, we can't control that, so, I'm not sure what the right thing is to do, but I appreciate the chance to talk about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. Is there anybody else in this distinguished audience that would like to step forth?
Can I clarify?
Sure.
Just to clarify for Dennis's question, it doesn't have to be 500 feet, and I believe that the city has the ability to only authorize a single business if they so wish. It's just that they can't completely eliminate the capability for a cannabis business to operate within their land.
Thank you.
Are we limited to just one per 12,500 people?
That's countywide,
Okay.
okay? So the county may reach, I think it's 35 licenses in Washington County. They could reach that before anyone in Lakeland Shores or surrounding communities applies for that license. That doesn't mean it won't, that will happen, but it could. So, yeah, and he's absolutely right. The city is, you cannot eliminate a dispensary, but you only have to permit one.
Well, with no other further participation from the public, I think we would close the public hearing. This time, I think we need to, get serious about the one thing that we've been talking about here, which is the buffer zone. And Kim, correct me, which I will be wrong since my Robert's Rules of Order stink. If we wish to have a vote on the change of that from 1,000 to 500 feet or whatever number of feet people want to vote on, is that something we do now before we do the whole resolution?
Mayor and council members, you would make a motion to adopt the ordinance with the revision of the 1,000-foot setback. Period.
Is there any further discussion concerning this ordinance?
You got something, Tim?
As far as reducing this, the setback,
Sure, anything about it. Yep, that or anything else about it.
yeah, I don't see how it's a problem that we reduce it to 500 feet.
Then can I have a motion to? Yep.
I got a few things. I guess one of the things, and people know that, I guess I don't like, how would I say it, my standpoint from when the Minnesota State Legislature approved this a couple of years ago, I wasn't in agreement with it. So in my opinion, they basically just shoved it down our throats. Second of all, the Green Canopy came here a year and a half ago or a year ago and applied for application to sell the product that they're doing with you know, saying that they had never intended to sell marijuana, they just wanna use the product, sell the product that they have now currently. So then I look at this, do we change it to 500, do we move it to 1,000? If we move it to 1,000 feet, that knocks him out, but another company could come in and put in a business. Would he be a good community player, like the Green Canopy? Or then I look at it, okay, or if we leave it at 500, Green Canopy doesn't apply, or they sell a business and the big player comes in and buys them out, throws them a pile of money, which could happen. What do we do here? You know, I don't like any of it either way, so I don't know what to do.
I thought it wasn't transferable to another road.
It's a city ordinance, so they,
Well, you're talking about the ordinance, not the.
yeah, and you know, it's within the ordinance and then the CUP, right,
The license is not transferable, the CUP
Yeah, the
stays with the
license can't
property.
move.
yeah.
Well, the actual license from the state.
Yeah, that's-
Yeah, what I'm saying is the property with the CUP would be able, they'd have to apply and then get their license to go in. So, or do we put it at 1,000 and, you know, nobody applies before the licenses are full, you know, from the county?
Well, I'd like to hear a motion. I guess I'll bring that motion, which is that we approve the ordinance 2024-01 adult cannabis regulations with the amendment to a buffer zone of 500 feet of a private or public school. And is there a second on that?
I'll second that.
All those in favor? Aye.
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 Nay.
Would appear to be 3-1. So it would appear that the ordinance has been approved with that amendment from 1,000 to 500 feet. Going to 4C, public hearing on consideration of resolution number 2024-09, commercial building conditional use permit, 16 XXX First Street South.
Oh, okay, now I got a big pile.
Yeah, well,
Spread it out.
Kim, could you enlighten us a little bit as to what you know about this situation, other than the reams of paper that we've been distributing?
Yeah, the trees that have died.
Mayor and council members, I apologize for all the paper, but it's a submittal requirement for the state for a CUP. An application was submitted for a CUP for the same type of building that Mr. Lind already has down the road. The application was absolutely reviewed by the consulting city planner. She did a summary of the request, the site conditions. It appears that the plan meets all the city ordinances. She also did a draft CUP that outlined all the conditions that she is recommending. The city engineer also did a review, and his conditions were included in that draft CUP, as well as WMO. They have to get approval by the WMO. But the conditions related to screening and moving, revising some things, they have to submit another site plan to the engineer after they kind of alter those type things. The city planner is recommending approval. It isn't allowed use, again, based on those conditions. And this is again where a public hearing is required. And the public hearing, the purpose of that is if neighbors want to come and express their concerns, and their concerns could possibly lead to additional conditions of approval. What was not on the plan, just one thing for example, was a fence, I think on the east side, and the planner did add that, that a fence would be required, so. Any questions?
Well, at this point, I think that then we should open the public hearing for consideration of this resolution 2024-09, commercial buildings CUP. Is there anybody who would like to speak to this?
Good evening. My name is John Sonatake, and I've been helping the property owner with general site planning and layout and kind of the coordination of the application materials and submittal. Generally speaking, as I look at all the materials, the conditional approval, all in all, I think we're generally speaking in agreement with what is suggested. Just a couple maybe minor questions of clarification and whether that has to be modified as part of the conditions now, or if it's something that we can work out with the city planner and engineer. Primarily around the requirement for screening. Mr. Lynn has been open to whatever kind of combination preferred as far as fencing and arborvitae planted along the side. He had previously met with the adjacent landowners, and that's what we kind of based upon originally, was just what both of those landowners were kind of preferring. But I guess our question would be whether it's one or the other scenario. Like if he does a fence, does he still need to plant the arborvitae? If he does enough arborvitae, could it just be that in lieu of the fence? And I guess we didn't really have a chance to talk to the planner in detail about that, and whether she has an opinion of whether it should be one or the other or both. It seemed like in a couple of her comments, if it was gonna be a fence, I assume the fence would be sufficient for the screening, and then at that point, then the trees wouldn't really be necessary unless it was just a little bit of flair to the screening. And then there was, I think maybe just a little typo on the conditions. Get my glasses back on here. On the additional restrictions and conditions, number 5, I think that in the body of the comments made from the planner, there's discussion of the property line, the fence. No storage of outdoor material could be within 10 feet of the property line, but the fence could be on the property line. And just in number 5, it just talks about that the fence would be at least 10 feet from the property line. I think that might just need to be clarified, that it's the outdoor storage has to be at least 10 feet from the property line. But those are, again, it's, other than that, I mean, I think that covers most of what we had concerns about, just making sure we're clear on what landscaping requirements are there, if it's a fence or trees. So I don't know if the board has any opinion on this, or if this is something we should just work out with the planner and Ms. Points.
Mayor and council members, I will just clarify the fencing and the trees. The plan was submitted with the trees that you had talked about. The addition is the privacy fence for the outdoor storage. So it would be both the fence and the trees.
And that's on the east side of the,
Properties, no, it is for the residential properties to the north.
North and east, it looks like they got proposed fence.
And do you know whether, what is the trees obviously would be required for screening, but if a fence is there and provides that screening, is there a reason for the trees still at that point? And again, I think, Bob, you'd probably be fine with doing a couple in there, but then there's another comment about having trees every 10 feet. So it seems kind of duplicated effort if you do a fence and then trees every 10 feet.
I think it adds to the
Character.
lot, the character of the lot, what there is existing.
Sure.
I guess my input on this would be, I'm gonna go back to when you guys built the other building, and we got this proposed site plan, and it looks a lot like this one, But I look at this one, and this one isn't near as what you have for the building now. And I look at the trees that are supposed to be at the existing building, and that's all outside storage, which I thought we weren't supposed to have. And, I look at the existing building that you built, and then this one, what you're proposing will end up just like this one. So I don't wanna see any outside storage on this site. And I guess I would ask, what is outside storage? What are you looking at storage? Because I don't wanna see people's pontoons. I don't wanna see dead cars. I don't wanna see trailers. I don't wanna see ice houses. I mean, that's not what we intended to do years ago when you built that other building. And my opinion of to have this building, what I'd like it to look at, go across the street and look at that building, just flip-flop that. They don't have any outside storage. That building looks nice, and that's what I envision this building to be. And that's why I see with the fence and the trees would be a nice aesthetic look. And then if we did do a fence, I would propose to have it a wood fence, not a metal fence. So it'd look good in the neighborhood.
I'm Bob Lind, the one who wants to build the building. So I guess as far as the screening part goes, I've been talking to Tara on the east side, and I would like to put a fence in on the east side and the north side. And I talked to Roberta, who lives on the north property line, and she didn't seem to care about either one. She just wanted me to take care of all her buckthorn, to rip all her buckthorn out and call it good. But I would much rather have a fence on the north property line and on the east property line. And if Tara wants something on her side of the fence, I'll plant whatever she wants. We talked about arborvitaes, lilacs, and then as far as the material of the fence, I would like to build it the same as I built my other one, and I would go as far as letting Tara or Roberta pick the color, because I won't see it.
Yeah.
I'll see the treated lumber side, but I won't see the other side. And as far as maintenance goes, that's what I'm thinking of actually. As if you get a wood fence, I mean, you got maintenance problems. And I do have a fence that the neighbor Ben has in, and it's a treated lumber fence, and I fix his fence a couple times a year.
I guess-
Mr. Mayor and council members, I would suggest that you certainly have time to ask the applicant more questions, but I would see if there's any more public comments for the public hearing, and if not, I would get that closed.
I guess I would ask, when you have outside exterior storage, what does that mean?
I don't know who the tenants are gonna be. It's not gonna be, personal gear and stuff like that.
That's what we were told at the other building, and I drive by that every day and see that stuff sitting out there.
The fish house?
The building, your other building.
Yep, well, we're
So-
getting that ready for winter. I mean,
Okay, but here's what I'm looking at, is I look at the proposed site for the other building. You have a septic tank, if the septic tanks are put in the right spot, as this drawing, you're driving over your septic system. On the south side of the building, I can see stuff stacked up past the fence.
it's the septic's all fenced
No,
off.
I know the septic, but I can see stuff over the fence that's sticking up out. I
Well,
don't wanna
that's-
see any of that stuff. And then on the south side of the building, there's, I don't know if it's foam that's sticking up over,
That's material for this building here.
okay.
But I can
But-
lower that, no problem. I was gonna put a tarp over it to blend
But
it in,
what
but
I'm saying is, as far as exterior storage, I don't wanna see any stuff outside. I want a nice commercial building Cause who knows what kind of tenants you're gonna have in there, and they want a nice looking building, they don't wanna see junk sitting around. And I'm all for small business, don't get me there.
I do have a question. The building that you were talking about across the street, which one is that?
The one,
Is it 1980 Quasar?
River Valley Companies?
yeah, that building there. And you drive by there and they don't, with the fountain out front.
That storage is in back.
They don't have any, I drive through there and there's nothing sitting out back. It's a
It's
clean,
behind a fence back there.
that's not part of it, it's a different building. So, I guess, I just like a nice curb appeal on the building.
I agree
And
100%.
You know, cause if we don't put something in writing now and make sure we have it, then it's a kicking the can down the road, and I don't wanna have to have our attorney or a clerk go after somebody to take care of minuscule stuff like that. So,
Can I ask you just one question, sir? Is this building that you're proposing the exact same size as the one that you have on Second Street North, or?
Nope, it'll be bigger. The lot's bigger than our other lots, so whatever was the allowed size is what I did. So it will be bigger than the
It'll
other
be
one.
bigger. And that'll
Yep.
be, not necessarily any higher,
No higher.
no higher.
Oh, I'm sorry. It'll be 2 feet higher because on the first one, I think Tim knows, it was 16 feet interior, which didn't allow, a mezzanine, per code. So I'll have to double check, but I'm almost positive the ceilings are gonna be either 17 or 18 feet, so either 1 or 2 feet higher, than the building that we currently have.
And you envision, how many square feet do you have on the first building you did that I recognize on Second Street North, and this one is gonna be how many square feet?
Our current building is 7,000 square feet, and this one will be 14,000 square feet.
And how many different businesses are you contemplating being in there?
I would like only 3. And I would like only contractors like myself. I came, through the ranks working out of my yard for 20 years out of West Lakeland. And it's gonna be a small company, who's gonna need that space. I know I outgrew my space from my personal, 2,500 square foot garage in West Lakeland. And that's kind of what prompted me to do what I did. So my wish list would be 3 different tenants.
Thank you.
Who's gonna be constructing this building?
The exact same people that did the last building. I can get Kim all the information, but Weezer would be doing the tip-ups. That would be the majority of the building. And then the concrete guy, they'd do the footings and the flat work. On Point would do all the wood stuff. Royal Mechanical would do all the plumbing, and the HVAC stuff, and Joe Kivel would do all the electrical.
I'm just concerned of you cutting up the street again, like last time.
that was my other thing I was gonna add.
Yeah, no,
Well, you shut down the street, you didn't put up any signs or nothing.
I didn't do any of that stuff. That was Bulow, out of West Lakeland. I knew him from living in West Lakeland, and that was a horrible experience. He
Well,
was
that's why
supposed
I'm
to,
asking these questions.
he's
He
not
should be out of
involved.
business, he should be in jail.
I'm not gonna say one way or the other. I haven't seen him since he did that, and they were supposed to put the septic in, and they left me high and dry on that. So they will not be there. And when it's time to hook up to the water, the shut-offs are already in the property. There's two of them, and we'll be using the one on First Street South. So there will not be any work, as far as I know, that we would have to go into the street. The shut-offs for the water
Just in
are.
case you do have to, you gotta contact the clerk and the right of way, and then we have to notify the fire department. Cause if that, like, they shut down that road and they go, trying to go to an emergency and they can't get access, then that doesn't look
Oh,
good for
sure.
us.
Yep.
We caught hell for that.
I had no idea, the procedure for that, and, I assumed that John would have taken care of all that stuff, and
Yeah.
he cut the neighbor's cable twice, not just once, so.
Okay, any other questions for these two distinguished gentlemen? And is there anybody else that would like to speak at the public hearing? Dennis?
Well, I have one more question.
Yeah,
In the thing here from our consultant, she says there's loading docks, but you're not having loading, they're just regular garages, there's no.
no loading
Yeah,
docks.
okay.
Okay, Dennis, you have an opportunity here.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. And as the clerk pointed out, that's quite a stack of paperwork to go through. Oh, it's lots and lots of stuff. The building's twice the square footage. Building gets bigger. If you keep the same roof pitch, the roof gets higher. Now we're adding a couple of feet for mezzanine, so I don't really have a good picture of what this is gonna be, but I'm guessing it's gonna be somewhere in the 35 to 38 foot total height. But I couldn't find that in the plan, so that's one of the questions.
That fits in the city requirements,
35 is the highest you can go.
35 is what you had on.
so they're
Okay.
good within reason there.
Okay. The plan shows that office, manufacturing, and storage classifications for potential businesses in there. Will the tenants need to have fire reviews? Or ordinance compliance reviews before
Yeah.
beginning
Each tenant
business?
will probably have to have their own building permit when they
Okay.
rent it out or lease it out, I would imagine with Bob, right? If they do an as-built or a tenant build-out.
If it turns out to be a manufacturing location, and with the only water source to the building coming off of First Street South, do we have enough water supply capacity to provide whatever that business might need? If it's another house, it's not a big deal, but if somebody needs industrial levels of water there, that's a question to be answered.
We'll just have to tap off yours.
I got our garden hose, we can do that.
Hook up.
Garden hose.
It's gonna be on mine.
Get one of those speed bump things.
Hey, I had to deal with my cable for 6 months that way.
Looking at the plan, it shows 3 future restrooms, but no current restrooms planned for the property. So, hopefully there'll be at least one on the property.
Well, everything's proposed, right?
Where
Yeah.
the restaurants, or the restrooms are proposed is exactly where they're gonna go.
Yeah, and you'll
They
put
will
those,
be built.
you'll put those in right away because of the concrete?
Yeah, he'll have to plumb it out
For
and
the
all
most
that.
part, you plumb it out anyways.
Yeah, all the plumbing will be in and stuff in, and then when we get a tenant in that area, then yeah, the restrooms will be completed
Yep.
before they move in.
I take it the demising walls will be up too, or no? Yeah, the two walls section them off, yeah.
Yep, and this
Yeah.
time they're gonna be Weezer concrete, it's not gonna be a poured wall.
Okay.
So they'll be put up immediately.
Okay.
Wonderful. As far as the fence goes, I'm not an abutting property owner, but I think for the way my lot is laid out relative to this property, I'm gonna see much more of that storage proposed on the east side. And a few arborvitae here and there don't provide an awful lot of screening, so a fence would be my preference along that east property line. The exterior storage is also a concern. I don't know how we can manage to have the new property not look like the old property if we approve exterior storage. And what else have I got here? Where will the recycling and trash services be provided to the building? It's not listed in the plans that I saw. Again, it's a big document.
They have it
but
on the
that's-
northeast
Yeah, they're
corner.
they're on one of the grids, they're dumpster
Okay,
locations.
You won't see that.
all right. And will anything be done so that the road traffic exiting your property will be directed to the county road rather than into the residential area? Don't want to have you pay for the sins of others, but prior businesses across the street from you where Mayday is located now, we'd get a lot of traffic through the neighborhoods, and we ask that they try to limit that in some way. So I'm not sure if we can do something about that. And that's probably enough. Thank you.
Is there anybody else that would like to speak at the public hearing? Since I'm not hearing anybody suggesting they want to, we'll close the public hearing.
Oh, can I ask one more question?
Yeah,
You're putting the septic off in the corner there. How do you plan on emptying it for the trucks? Access wise?
Well, they can go behind on the north side of the building, and I think I get 100 feet free. And if they have to add on to that,
Okay.
they charge me accordingly.
Yep, I just wasn't sure on the north side what you're gonna have there, and if that would really be access or, like a yard or something. Okay, good.
so if I'm hearing to the questions that have been asked, that type of thing, and we don't want to leave any more up for debate at a later date than we have to, are we basically talking about outside storage here and fencing being the two
Yep.
major things that we want to make sure that everybody in the room here has an understanding as to what we're talking about when we approve this conditional use permit? And since I'm sure, Tim, with your business background in the construction industry and that type of stuff, you probably have pored over the plans that they've been given to us. And I'm curious as to what the plans call for as far as screening goes.
Yeah, I mean, it's a nice project, it's a nice building, it'll be an asset for the community and businesses that look at maybe renting it. I guess the only downside I see is, the exterior storage, which I don't wanna see, and I would like to have a wood fence with, as many green trees that we can put in there as possible.
And that would be both on the east and north end.
I believe so, and, yeah, I don't know if they might be limited on the north side, but I don't know if there's any there on the property. Well, I guess if they put a fence up, some of them might go away, but,
There are some remaining trees, because there's been a fair amount of lumbering going on those two lots. On the west side, the one that runs parallel to the bike path. And just curious, Dennis, Bob, do you, as to the trees that are remaining on the west side of the lots, do you plan on leaving the bigger ones there?
Oh,
or-
yeah, the big pine trees will for sure stay. I'm not gonna mess with them, but I was instructed by the watershed district and obviously the septic people also, leave all that alone until they're ready. But when we're done, that southwest corner,
The stormwater, there's gonna be a big stormwater pond along that side.
and then anything on the outside of that, if you want trees or more, what it,
Never landscape.
yeah, so I guess I don't know. I mean, I'll put in whatever
Yeah.
you want.
Right, Kim?
Mr. Mayor and council members, as part of the conditions suggested, recommended by the planner, the all exterior storage, which is allowed with conditional use, must be fully screened from adjacent properties with a 6-foot privacy fence with at least 75% opacity and be set back at least 10 feet from the property boundary. The applicant shall submit the fence detail for review and approval by the city consulting planner. And then the use of the trees of native variety must be planted along the northern property line to provide screening from the adjacent residential properties to the north. So the conditions outline both the trees and a fence. And it also notes that exterior storage can't be placed in circulation or parking areas. It notes that the outside storage is referring to trucks and cars. So.
Well, yeah, I mean, even across the street, they've got vans,
Yeah,
service vans
yeah,
parked in
right,
parking,
yeah.
outside storage.
Yeah, I'm looking at boats, dead cars.
You mean like the yacht industry that used to be behind the one across the street?
Yeah, and other paraphernalia that sits around. That's my main concern. I guess maybe I didn't see it, but how high is that retaining wall gonna be on that west side? Or don't you know
It's
yet?
about a 4-foot retaining wall.
Okay,
Just to make up for that grade, because amazingly, that lot looks flat, but there's enough
Yeah.
pitch to it that
But
okay.
the westerly side of that building will be elevated.
Then what kind of wall?
Boulders, same as our other wall.
And so, Mr. Mayor and council members, the trees are suggested to be along the eastern and southern property lines to provide the additional screening. And again, then the fence on for the outdoor storage, so that cannot be seen from the residential properties to the north. I guess my point is, I think that the conditions cover those issues. And the screening is well-defined and will be required.
Sounds good. Anybody else have any other questions concerning the discussions that have taken place here?
You have a utility guy that's gonna put in the 12-inch PVC out to the county storm inlet?
Oh, yeah, I noticed that.
Cause you gotta get county approval for that, and I don't know how you're gonna do this, cause you're gonna dig down right alongside the road there and dig, well, unless you go underneath, but
The bike path.
the bike path is there too.
And we have reached out to the county highway department. They did ask if the WMO, which generally speaking, they're fine, they had a couple minor revisions, but we kind of wanted to wait till you guys had your chance to make comments, but, the highway department asked that we put in a 15-inch RCP actually, so the reinforced concrete pipe, but they were aware that we'd be going out in that direction, and so we'll finish up whatever permitting process they would like us to do to go down and penetrate that. There's a big tank structure underneath that inlet, and so it's common practice that you'll punch a hole in that, get it in there, grout that in, and that's where that's how you control the rate of runoff leaving that site. So the stormwater pond only allows that to go in there after it reaches a certain elevation and is controlled by an orifice of that pipe going up into that manhole, and so it doesn't overload that system.
So you're looking at, so you'll have that pond no matter what? And that's just if you're allowed by the county to go into that storm sewer?
And they've said, as long as the WMO is fine with the final design of the storm pond, they're okay if we connect the overflow to that.
Okay.
The alternative is to just let it sheet over the land,
Run over the edge
Yeah.
and
Right,
trail and into the ditch.
which is not necessarily
No.
ideal because one way or another, it always seems to create a scour, create a problem.
And we have no gas line going through that property, correct? I don't,
Not through the property, but through that right of way area.
right, yeah.
Yep.
And then you'll cap off the other water from St. Croix Trail side?
Yeah, it's,
It's right there kind of by your pond.
Do you know what size water line you need going in the building? Or you recommend, or a 2-inch or 3, or?
I guess we haven't dug into that at this point, but whoever's doing the work for them. will
So, yeah,
verify
the
with
fire department has to look at that. Okay.
And Mr. Mayor and council members, I will note there's also a condition of approval on this that requires consent and conformance to all conditions, recommendations from all the other agencies, so.
I'm spacey on this one. Did you say that that fence on the east side had to be 10 feet off of the property line?
No.
No, I mean, I know that you mentioned that, but But I thought when you read that, that.
I thought she said 10 too.
Yeah,
It's 10, the storage has to be 10 feet off the fence,
that's,
is
okay,
what it
gotcha,
is.
okay. Obviously, the fence
You
is
can
gonna
have
be
it
on
on the property
property.
line if it's consent with the owner next door, or it has to be 3 foot back. I don't know if it's different in commercial or not.
Either way, it has to meet the setbacks.
Right.
So,
Is there any further discussion on this? Somebody like to bring a motion?
I would make a motion to, how would I say it?
Okay,
I'll let you.
commercial CUP, public hearing on resolution 02409,
Just
Correct.
approval or denial of the resolution.
to approve it.
I would approve it amending the material on the fence be a wood product. Would that be? And the reason I let Tom do it, because this is his last city council meeting.
Well, yeah, and I'll argue
Also-
with you with the
Okay.
fence,
Did
but
he make the motion?
Yeah, he made the motion.
Somebody second it?
I'll second it.
All those in favor of approving the resolution 2024-09, commercial building CUP on First Street South, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any negatives? I guess that's it.
Thank you.
Yep.
oh, now we get a budget and the levy. Oh, what exciting stuff we got.
Moving on to 4D, consideration of resolution number 2024-10, the 2025 final budget.
Mr. Mayor, council members, the final budget and final levy are the exact same as your preliminary
Preliminary.
that was submitted and approved in September, so there have been no changes.
And with that in mind, and I believe that I'm having trouble finding my resolution here,
Well, it's
Tom,
after,
can you help
all
him
those
out?
darn materials.
10,
right.
Come on, Tom.
02410.
Take it, Tom.
Yeah, and we don't need the amount, just the
No.
Okay.
resolution number.
Then I move that we accept the 2024-10, 2025 final budget, that we, I move that we vote on that at this time.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Moving to 4E, consideration of resolution number 2024-11, 2025 final levy.
I'll make a motion, we approve that. I'm just gonna hog my time right out the door.
I second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Consideration, that would be 4F, consideration of resolution number 2024-12, ordinance summary, publication of ordinance number 2024-01, which would be the cannabis.
Canvas one.
Thanks, Bob.
Mr. Mayor, and council members, the summary publication, all that is it authorizes summary publication, because by law, you have to, publish a summary.
Public
Or the
notice,
ordinance, you do
basically, yeah.
not want to, publish that whole ordinance. That would be very, very expensive.
Flammable.
I move that we approve that resolution 2024-12, ordinance summary for publication. All
I'll
those in
second.
favor? All those in favor?
Aye.
We get, go to 5, which is council and staff reports, staff updates. Kim?
I have nothing this evening.
Going to 5B, mayor and council reports. Council member Schroeder.
I just have one thing. I would like to thank Mr. Wilson for being dedicated council member for 8 years. And how long were you on the
Well,
fire
you
board?
better suck up to me, I did drive, you know.
Yeah, yeah. And also, you were on the fire board for what, 12?
13 before that.
13 years?
Yeah,
So, I want to thank you for
That's
your
what?
service.
21 years.
Yeah.
God, I had more hair then, and it was a darker color. And
So that's all I have to ask, per se.
Councilmember Wilson,
I'm out of here.
good. I know you've been waiting.
I told you I didn't want to.
When I saw the votes, I knew that you were a happy man. Mr. Hatton,
Yeah, I'd also like to thank Tom for his service, and yeah, you were a good member here. It was nice knowing you. And
Thank you both. Thank all of you, as a matter of fact.
and Mayor Bischoff, I have nothing to add at this particular time. We're gonna miss you, Tom, if for no other reason that you keep Tim Schroeder in line. And,
Maybe I'll
So-
still have him drive me here.
so with that.
I'll be your Uber.
At approximately 10 minutes to 8, I would move to adjourn this meeting.
And I will second that.
All in favor?
I'm punching out.
Thank you, Tom.
thanks, Tom.
Yep.
I thought that's you were. Hi, I'm